Have you noticed how our social lives have completely changed since the pandemic? A lot of people don't really feel like meeting in person anymore, especially young people. Many would rather stay home, scroll through their phones, and avoid social situations altogether. And that heavy feeling of loneliness is like a silent fog that just keeps getting thicker. But here's the thing. This loneliness didn't start with COVID. Yes, I said that. Research shows it was already on the rise long before the pandemic. One big reason? The rise of social media. I know, it sounds ironic. Social media lets us stay connected anytime, anywhere. Yet, the more we rely on online relationships, the lonelier we seem to feel. In academic terms, interpersonal communication is the process by which two or more people use verbal and nonverbal messages to create, maintain, or change relationships, and to share information and emotions. It's not limited to face-to-face conversations. Phone calls, video chats, even meaningful exchanges on social media all count. So, if social media counts as interpersonal communication, why does it often make us feel more lonely? Well, there could be several reasons. First, online interactions are often fast food conversations. Likes, short comments, quick replies. Sure, they're communication, but they lack the emotional depth of face-to-face conversations. And without that depth, our brains don't release as much oxytocin, the bonding hormones that makes us feel trusted and cared for. Second, online communication strips away so many nonverbal cues. Facial expressions, tone of voice, posture, eye contact, even touch. All those subtle emotional signals get compressed into text and emojis, and the warmth just disappears. Third, social media amplifies everyone else's highlight reels. We see their best moments on repeat, compare them to our own messy reality, and end up feeling worse about ourselves. Fourth, many young people have hundreds, sometimes thousands of friends online, but only a handful they can truly open up to. Psychologists call this perceived social isolation. When you look socially active on the surface, but feel emotionally disconnected inside. And finally, social media gives us instant gratification, a quick rush of attention. But that rush fades fast as well, leaving us still craving real connection and long-term emotional safety. But let's be fair, these problems aren't only found online. In other forms of communication, you can still run into the same issues. Small talk is also shallow. Writing letters or emails lacks sensory cues, and wherever there are people, there will be comparisons. In fact, comparison is part of how we form our self-identity. It's not always a bad thing. And honestly, in any era, no one has 100 deep heart-to-heart friendships. Usually, we only have a few close relationships. So, the real challenge for young people today isn't to abandon social media. It's to use interpersonal communication wisely and realize the problem isn't entirely the fault of a screen. What brings us to a bigger question. Why is interpersonal communication so important in the first place? Let's flip the question and think about it from the opposite side. What happens to humans without it? There is an old story about Frederick II, the Holy Roman Emperor in the 13th century. He wanted to know what language babies would naturally speak if no one ever talked to them. Latin, Greek, Hebrew? So he ordered nurses to feed and clean the babies, but never speak to them or even touch them for comfort. The result? Every single baby died. We can't verify the story or know the exact cause, but the message is chilling. Without communication and touch, even life itself can't survive. You might also know the story of Tarzan, a boy raised by animals in the jungle, strong and able to talk to animals. Well, the reality is much less romantic. The inspiration partly came from a real case in the early 19th century France, Victor, the wild child of Aveyron. who grew up without human care. Even after being rescued, he never fully learned language or built deep relationships. A more recent and heartbreaking example is Genie, a girl in the United States who was locked in a small room by her own father for over 10 years. He had almost no language or social contact. Even after rescue and years of rehabilitation, she was never able to fully develop normal language skills or social interaction. Humans, as social creatures, have such a deep need for interpersonal communication that it is literally essential to our survival. Black Mirror captures this in one of its most unsettling episodes, White Christmas. In it, the protagonist's consciousness is duplicated, creating a digital self forced to serve her real-world counterpart forever. And when this copy refuses to comply, the administrator punishes her by isolating her completely, cutting her off from all interaction for what feels like months. This inhuman treatment eventually breaks her will. In reality, punishments like this are banned in many countries, precisely because completely stripping a person of communication with the outside world is considered deeply cruel and inhuman. If you're watching this video, you can be certain of one thing: the reason you've grown into the person you are today is because your life, from the very beginning to now, has been surrounded by rich interpersonal communication. It shapes our language, our social skills, and our mental health. To stay mentally healthy, we all need someone we can talk to regularly. Think about the movie Castaway. I know it's an old movie, but it's a very classical one. Tom Hanks' character, stranded alone on a deserted island after a plane crash, starts talking to a volleyball he names Wilson. It's just an object, yes, but that imagined conversation kept him emotionally alive through years of isolation. So, back to our original question: why do we feel lonelier in an age when we can communicate anytime? Maybe it's not that we lack opportunities to communicate. It's that the quality of our conversation has dropped. We've drawn in endless shallow interactions, but starving for the kind of conversations that make us feel understood, accepted, and connected. To fight that loneliness, we need to intentionally create high-quality communication. Seek out face-to-face time, listen deeply, give genuine emotional responses, and keep showing up for the people who really matter to you. Don't just stay on the other side of the screen. Go talk to someone, and you might find that loneliness isn't as unshakable as it feels.